She left her phone on the table. A message popped up. Once he proposes, I'll finally get what I want. I read it, said nothing, and waited. A week later, when she opened the ring box, I handed her. There wasn't a ring inside. I'm Dylan, 31, and I'd been dating Cassie for 3 years. We met at a charity fundraiser where she was volunteering, and I was there representing my company. She was beautiful, charming, funny, everything I thought I wanted. We moved in together after a year, talked about marriage regularly, and I'd been planning to propose for the past few months. The moment that changed everything happened on a Tuesday evening in October. We were at home, both working from our apartment. Cassie had been on her laptop in the living room while I was finishing up some reports in the bedroom. Around 6, I came out to start making dinner and found her phone sitting on the coffee table, screen lit up with a new message. I wasn't trying to snoop. The phone was just there, face up, and the notification was visible from where I stood. A text from someone named M with a preview that read, "Once he proposes, I'll finally get what I want." I felt my stomach drop. I picked up the phone, still unlocked, probably from her having just used it, and opened the full conversation. The texts went back months. M was Marcus, apparently an ex-boyfriend she'd told me she hadn't spoken to since before we met. That was a lie. They'd been texting regularly, and not just friendly catch-up messages. These were intimate, planning to meet up, talking about their future together. But the worst messages were from the past 2 weeks. Marcus: "So when's the proposal happening?" Cassie: "Soon, I think. He's been acting nervous and secretive. I'm pretty sure he bought a ring." Marcus: "And you're still going through with the plan?" Cassie: "Of course. Once he proposes, I'll finally get what I want. The financial security, the nice apartment in my name too, everything we talked about. Then I can end it on my terms and move on." Marcus: "You're sure he won't suspect anything?" Cassie: "He's completely clueless. Thinks we're this perfect couple. It's almost too easy." I stood there in our living room holding her phone, reading these messages over and over. My hands were shaking. I heard the bathroom door open. She'd been in the shower, and I quickly put the phone back exactly where it was, then walked back to the kitchen like nothing had happened. Cassie came out in her robe, hair wet, smiling. "Hey babe, what are you making for dinner?" "Pasta," I said, my voice somehow steady. "The carbonara you like." "Perfect. I'm starving." She grabbed her phone from the coffee table and disappeared into the bedroom to get dressed. I stood at the stove, mechanically cooking pasta, and my mind was racing. The woman I'd been planning to marry was using me. The proposal I'd been nervous about, the ring I'd spent 2 months' salary on, the future I'd been imagining. All of it was part of some scheme to get what she wanted before leaving me. I'd been so stupid, so completely blind. Over dinner, Cassie talked about her day, about a project at work, about plans for the weekend. I smiled and nodded and responded at the right times. Inside, I was numb. When she leaned over to kiss me after dinner, I kissed her back. When she said she loved me before bed, I said it back, and I started planning. The next morning, I called in sick to work. After Cassie left for her office, I went through everything: her laptop, her emails, her social media messages. I found more conversations with Marcus, found evidence of them meeting up, lunches, coffee dates, even a weekend trip she'd told me was a girls' retreat to the spa. Found discussions about how once we were engaged, she'd push to add her name to the apartment lease and our joint accounts before discovering she couldn't go through with the wedding. It was all there. A calculated plan to use our relationship for financial gain before moving on to Marcus, who apparently had family money but commitment issues. I was the safe bet, the stepping stone, the mark. I spent that entire day documenting everything. Screenshots, exported messages, saved emails. Then I called my lawyer, not a divorce lawyer since we weren't married, but the one who'd helped me with the apartment lease and some contract work. I explained the situation. You need to protect yourself financially, he said. If she's planning to get her name on the apartment and accounts, you need to lock that down now, and you need evidence in case she tries to claim common law marriage or goes after you for anything else. We spent 2 hours going over everything. I changed my account passwords, contacted my bank about keeping accounts separate, talked to my landlord about making sure the lease stayed only in my name. Then I did something else. I went to the jeweler where I'd bought the engagement ring and explained that I needed to return it. They had a strict no-return policy, but when I explained the situation, the owner, an older man who'd helped me pick out the ring, looked at me with sympathy. "Keep the box," he said, handing me the empty velvet case after removing the ring. Sometimes the gesture is more important than what's inside. I didn't understand what he meant then. I do now. Update 1. For the next week, I acted completely normal. Cassie didn't suspect anything. I came home from work, made dinner, watched TV with her, went to bed beside her. The whole time, I was documenting more evidence and preparing for what I was going to do. Cassie kept hinting about the proposal. "Jenny from work just got engaged," she'd say. "The ring is gorgeous." I told her how lucky she is. Or, "I saw the cutest proposal video online today. So romantic." Each hint made me more certain I was doing the right thing. On Saturday morning, exactly 1 week after I'd found the messages, I suggested we go to our favorite restaurant that evening. Cassie's eyes lit up. "Oh, that sounds perfect. Should I dress up?" "Yeah," I said. "Make it special." She spent all afternoon getting ready. Hair, makeup, a new dress she'd apparently bought just in case. I watched her prepare for what she thought would be the proposal she'd been waiting for, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just a cold determination to end this my way. We got to the restaurant around 7. I'd made reservations at the same corner table where we'd had our first date. Cassie was practically glowing. She kept looking at me with this expectant expression, waiting for the moment. We ordered dinner, made small talk. Cassie barely touched her food, too nervous or excited to eat. I ate normally, calmly, taking my time. After dessert arrived, I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the ring box. Cassie's face transformed. Pure joy, fake but convincing if I hadn't known better. I set the box on the table between us. "Cassie, we need to talk about our future," I said. She nodded eagerly, reaching for the box. "Before you open that," I continued, "I want you to know that I've spent 3 years with you. 3 years believing we were building something real. 3 years trusting you." Her hand hesitated on the box. Something in my tone must have registered. "Dylan, what? Open it." She picked up the box with slightly shaking hands and opened it. The empty space where a ring should have been seemed to echo in the silence between us. "I don't understand," she said quietly. "I found the messages with Marcus. All of them. I know about the plan. I know you're using me to get financial security before leaving me for him. I know everything." Her face went pale, then red, then pale again. "Dylan, that's not... I can explain." "Don't." I pulled out my phone and showed her screenshots of her own messages. "I have copies of everything, months of conversations, your whole plan laid out in text messages. People at nearby tables were starting to notice something was wrong." Cassie's voice dropped to a whisper. "Please, let's talk about this at home." "No, I'm done talking. I'm done being used. The apartment lease stays in my name only. You're not on any of my accounts. And as of tonight, you're moving out." "You can't just kick me out." "Actually, I can. The lease is mine. You've been living there as a guest. My lawyer confirmed it. You have 30 days to find a new place, but I want you out sooner." "This is insane. You're overreacting to some messages that you took out of context." I stood up, leaving cash on the table for the bill. "The ring box is yours. Keep it. A reminder of what you almost got away with." I left her sitting there at the table, alone with an empty box and a restaurant full of people who'd just witnessed what they probably thought was a brutal breakup. I drove home, packed her essentials into suitcases, and called her friend Nicole. "Nicole, Cassie and I just broke up. She's going to need a place to stay tonight. Can she crash with you?" Nicole sounded shocked, but agreed. I texted Cassie the address and told her I'd leave her things on the front steps. Update 2. Cassie showed up at the apartment around 10 that night. I'd changed the locks, something my lawyer had advised, and left 3 suitcases of her stuff outside the door. She knocked and called my name for 20 minutes before finally taking the suitcases and leaving. She tried calling from multiple numbers over the next few days, left voicemails ranging from apologetic to angry to desperate. I didn't respond to any of them. My lawyer sent her formal notice that she had 30 days to arrange pickup of her remaining belongings. The real drama started when Marcus called me. I'd found his number in her phone and, in a moment of petty satisfaction, sent him screenshots of all their conversations along with a message. "She's all yours now. Good luck." "You had no right to involve me in this," he said when he called. "You were already involved. You were planning a future with my girlfriend while she was actively using me. That's between you and Cassie." "No, it was between the 3 of us, whether I knew it or not. Now I'm out of the equation. Congratulations, you won." "I don't want, she's not, this is complicated." "Not anymore, it's not. You wanted her, you got her." He hung up. According to mutual friends, Marcus and Cassie tried to make it work for about 2 weeks before imploding. Turns out when the plan falls apart and there's no financial security to gain, the whole foundation crumbles. Cassie sent me an email 3 weeks after the restaurant incident. Long, rambling, full of excuses and justifications. She claimed the messages were taken out of context, that she was venting to Marcus about feeling pressured to get married, that she never meant any of it. "You broke my heart," she wrote. "You humiliated me in public and threw away 3 years over a misunderstanding. I loved you, Dylan. I still love you. But you never gave me a chance to explain. I read it once and deleted it." There was nothing to explain. Her own words had been clear enough. Update 3. A month later, Cassie came to collect the rest of her things. I'd arranged for my brother to be there as a witness, just in case. She showed up with Nicole and another friend, barely made eye contact with me, and packed up her remaining belongings in silence. Before she left, she stopped at the door. "I hope you're happy," she said. "Not angry, just tired." "I'm not happy. But I'm not being used either. That's better. For what it's worth, I did care about you. It wasn't all fake. Maybe not all of it. But enough of it was." She left without another word. I found out through social media that she moved back to her hometown about 2 months after our breakup. Got a new job, new apartment, new life. Marcus wasn't in the picture anymore. That much was clear from her posts. My friends were divided on how I'd handled it. Some thought the public restaurant scene was too harsh, that I should have just broken up with her privately. Others said she'd earned the humiliation, that public consequences for public plans were fair. I don't know if I did the right thing. I know I did the satisfying thing. The ring box had been the perfect symbol, the promise of something valuable that turned out to be empty. Just like our relationship. Final update. It's been 4 months now. I'm still in the same apartment, still working the same job, still processing everything that happened. I went to therapy for a while to work through the trust issues and betrayal. My therapist said I had every right to be angry, but that I also needed to let go of the need for revenge. "You already got your revenge," she pointed out. "The restaurant, the empty box, exposing her to Marcus. You made your point. Now the question is, what do you do next?" What I did next was focus on myself. I started going to the gym more, picked up hobbies I'd let slide, reconnected with friends I'd neglected while I was wrapped up in the relationship. Slowly, the apartment started feeling less like the place I'd shared with Cassie and more like just my space. I went back to the jeweler a few weeks ago, The owner recognized me immediately. "How did it turn out?" he asked. "Exactly like it needed to," I said. He nodded knowingly. "The empty box?" "Worked perfectly." "Good." Sometimes the most valuable thing we can give someone is the truth, even when it's wrapped up pretty with a bow on top. I'd like to say I've started dating again, but I haven't. I'm not ready. The idea of trusting someone enough to let them into my life feels impossible right now. Maybe that will change. Maybe it won't. What I do know is that I'm never going to ignore red flags again. I'm never going to be so blinded by love that I miss the warning signs, and I'm never going to let anyone use me as a stepping stone to something better. Cassie taught me that the hard way, and while I wouldn't wish that lesson on anyone, I'm almost grateful for it. Better to find out someone's true intentions before you marry them than after. The empty ring box is still sitting in my desk drawer. I don't know why I kept it. Maybe as a reminder, maybe as a trophy, maybe just because throwing it away would feel like letting her win somehow. Sometimes late at night, when I'm alone in the apartment, I think about that moment in the restaurant. The look on her face when she opened the box and found nothing inside. The way her expression shifted from joy to confusion to dawning horror as she realized I knew everything. Part of me feels guilty about that, about the public humiliation, about the coldness of it all. But the bigger part of me remembers the messages. Once he proposes, I'll finally get what I want. He's completely clueless. The laughter at my expense, the casual cruelty of using someone who loved you as a financial stepping stone. And then the guilt fades. I don't know if I'll ever trust anyone enough to propose again. But if I do, it'll be with a real ring, to a real person, in a real relationship built on honesty instead of schemes. Cassie got her empty box, and I got my freedom. I think I came out ahead.